What's up, everyone? Y'all know what it is. This is Al from the Al and Pal Show live on a Tuesday night. The NBA Finals is set. We got the Nuggets and Heat, but we also got to talk about what actually happened last night in the Game 7. And I got a special guest in the building to break it all down for us. So with all that being said, people, let's get ready to lock and load.
Hello, Al and Pal. It's the Al and Pal Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Al and Pal Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Al and Pal Show. Where we lock and load. It's the Al and Pal Show. Where we lock and load. Come on.
Thank y'all once again for tuning in to a Tuesday edition of the Al and Pal Show. Game 7 was lit last night. The Miami Heat defeated the Boston Celtics in Game 7. And I needed some expertise to break down what actually went down last night. I'm not just going to talk to y'all from a fan's perspective, but let's bring some real analysis, some real expertise, somebody that know X's and O's that can actually tell us what happened last night. So with all that being said, we got Cleveland State assistant coach Travis Lewis in the building. What's up, my brother?
Man, what up, Al? Man, happy to be here, man. We don't want to be anywhere else on Taco Tuesday. We here.
Yes. Man, listen, we would talk about your coaching career a little bit later, everything that you went through to be in the place that you at right now. But when I talked to you a couple of weeks ago at the coaches conference, I said I wanted someone who is an actual coach. I always talk about sports from a fan's perspective, but somebody who went through the trenches, X's and O's, videos, film, all of that type of stuff to actually break down what we saw last night. The Miami Heat defeated the Boston Celtics in Game 7. I put it like this. When I looked at this Game 7, I said, oh, it's for sure the Celtics going to win this game. I'm like, yo, it's a wrap. They came back from 3-0, and the first thing that came in my mind was, I don't know if you follow baseball, but I thought about the Red Sox when they came back from 3-0 against the Yankees. They did it, so I said, you know what? This has been a wacky year for sports in general. So I said, I believe the Celtics got the momentum, and they're going to take it. They at home. I mean, everything is in their favor. But at the same time, the Miami Heat, they weird as well. And so the weirdness actually kept going because everyone expected the Celtics to win, and then the Heat did what they did. Before the game started, how did you think the game was going to go before it started?
Man, it's only natural. The Celtics at home, Game 7, coming back 3-0 is the Cinderella story. Right. And I think everybody expected the Celtics to win, but I think that's what helped fuel the fire for the Heat. Yes. They've been the underdog. They've been the underdog all year. So it was easy to say, listen, nobody believes in you. You was up 3-0. You're going to be the first team in the history of the NBA to lose in the Eastern Conference Finals when you were up to 3-0.
Right.
And then you just look at the weirdness of it all, right? The 8-seeded Heat are going to win the finals. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the weird part, right?
Oh, wow.
The story was just shooken because it started out of who they are being down being up 3-0.
So wait. You didn't went too far already. You didn't already predicted the Heat gonna win the finals.
I'm an underdog, man. And as we talk about the story later, it's so many people in that locker room with the DNA that I have, with your back against the wall, you grow and you blossom. And there's a lot of guys on there whose back been against the wall, and they're like, man, you know what? It's us against the world. And that's scary. That's scary. I mean, I go through it. Cleveland State basketball this year, we were picked 7th. We lost by 2 in the conference championship. We were 1 game away on the road of winning the regular season championship. And every day, our guys' tanks were fueled by the fact of man, it's 6 other teams better than y'all, and y'all back-to-back conference champs.
Right.
So I just know how it is. And as a coach, the type of fuel you can give your players to want to compete and go harder when they're like, man, nobody believes in you. Joker gonna come in here and wreak havoc to y'all. They already talking about the statistics that he had and how well he scored the ball against the Heat in the regular season, right? So they giving him all the knowledge and the motivation to be good, along with a bunch of guys in the locker room who already have skill.
So before we go too far, because you done already picked the Heat to upset the Nuggets. Let's go back to the game 7 because I wrote down some notes from the game as the game was going on. I'm sitting here writing down notes, things that I'm seeing from a fan perspective. But once again, because you're a coach, you probably can show us some stuff that we're not seeing. But so a few things I wrote down is, first of all, Coach Spoelstra. I seen him pull out like all the stops. I know Joe Mazzulla, young coach, first year, and the coaching advantage will probably go to Spo because of the experience, the championship pedigree, all that stuff. But I'm sitting here watching him full court press, going to his zone, got his role players playing well. And I'm not saying that won them the game, but I'm just saying he's putting in the effort to show different things. I didn't see a lot of different things from Joe Mazzulla's side. Does that play a part in the game at all from a coach's perspective?
Well, I think the biggest play in the game was the first play when Jason Tatum got hurt.
Yes.
Right? So now he doesn't have the same explosion that he typically has. So he's not playing with the same level of confidence that he typically does. So if you Spoelstra, now it's guys that's in uncommon situations. So now when I add a press or I throw a zone at you and I make you think on top of put you in a position to be in a role that you haven't been in the last couple of games when we've had success.
Yes.
So that injury was more detrimental to the mentality of the Heat and the response to the mentality from the Celtics throughout the game. So that was the biggest piece. And then you look at the Celtics coach, and it's really maybe a young guy, but if you don't got all your bullets in the chamber, man, you already fighting an uphill battle. And the veteran in Spoelstra was like, man, you know what? Let's take advantage of different guys being in different situations.
Yes. And to that point, I seen them start to go after Jason Tatum after the injury. And I also seen Derek White be more aggressive, trying to pick up the slack from Tatum being hurt. And you get people playing out of position, doing more than what they usually do. But I look at it as a coach. Would you have sat Jason Tatum knowing that he's not 100% to get somebody that is 100? Is somebody else off the bench 100%? Better than Jason Tatum's whatever percentage he was?
Yeah. The thing I'll say about that, it depends on the time of the game, right? So the injury happened so early, you could have rolled Tatum through the second half, right? The start of the second half, all right, he's just not bringing it. Now let's get creative as we want to, but let's go lineups, right? Let's go speed. So now let's put our fast guys on there and try to speed them up, or let's go size and try to pack it in. Let's try to play a certain type of way if we're not going to play with Tatum. So that's the one thing I would say from Mazzulla where he could have made a different adjustment. But at the same time, the NBA is such a players' league, right? And there's so many dollars that's connected to what those guys do day in and day out. And he's been he's been the primary part of the DNA. It's hard to say, man, you're going to sit this one out, Jay.
Right.
Because Jordan, if Jordan in that situation, man, LeBron in that situation, right? AD, KD, whoever in that situation, and they tell you, no matter who you are, if it's Spoelstra, if it's Pat Riley, coach, I'm staying in. I mean,
I look at it, I would at least gave him a break. Go to the locker room, let him work on the ankle. Then let's see what we can do with the bench. And then if you come back, you probably get the crowd involved, all of that stuff. I didn't even see Tatum take a break. Did you even see him take a break after the injury?
No, but some of the things behind that too, though, is if you had an ankle sprain before, if you sit down, it ain't no coming back.
Okay.
Right. So just the type of injury that it is, you got to keep moving. What they say, tighten your shoe as tight as you can, walk around. Because as soon
Right.
as he sit down or he take that shoe up and it blow up like a balloon, you don't have a chance to make
Right.
an adjustment, man. It is what it is at that point. So could he have made some decisions later in the game and say, man, he just ain't got the juice?
Yes.
Yeah. But game 7 with all the marbles, you never
Right.
know when they get going. I mean,
Right.
the man had 50 the last time he was in a game 7.
Yeah.
Let's not forget
Yeah.
what the stat line was the last time he played in a game 7.
Yeah. Another person, something else I wrote down, Caleb Martin from the Miami Heat. Undrafted player. I would say this your type of guy. This type of story. I don't know if I got the story correct, but the story goes he's playing in J. Cole's gym. J. Cole asks him, "Why you not on the team?" He's like, "Yo, I'm doing what I can do." J. Cole gets on the phone, makes some phone calls to whoever in Miami, gets a tryout, and the rest is history. This dude balled out during the series. He had 26 in this game, 10 rebounds. What do you think about Caleb Martin?
Man, so first of all, he's had a wild ride from the fact that he was at North Carolina State.
Yeah.
Then he transferred to Nevada, where he ended up being the player of the year in that league. Then he went undrafted, and he happened to run into J. Cole. I don't know how often that happens for just the average Joe, but he happened to run into J. Cole. And when that phone call was made, I think through the things that led him to that point, he had to humble himself enough to look and evaluate the situation and say, what do I need to do to stay on the team? Right? Because you can't get in the game unless you're on the bench.
Right.
So you go a year ago yesterday, he was on the bench and didn't get in the game. So what he did was analyze the situation. And then ultimately, man, when his opportunity came, he rose to the equation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As a former head high school coach, as a college coach, as a dad, so many times kids would come out like, man, you won't let me get in my rhythm. Or, man, I can't get going. I'm like, you 1 for 4. You don't want to come out. Every time I shoot a shot and I miss it, you take me out. Well, then don't miss.
Right.
Don't miss. Make the shot. Go 3 for 4. Make me keep you in. So when those opportunities came throughout the season, he built up the trust of Spoelstra to be able to put himself in position to have the type of game that he had last night or the type of series.
How is it that the Miami Heat is the only franchise that I see getting this type of production from people, afterthoughts, undrafted players, people like I don't see no other franchise getting this type of production out of players like the Caleb Martins, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus. Some of the Bulls had Max Strus at a time. The Celtics had Max Strus. How are the Miami Heat getting this production? It seems like, and I know looking you up, you was in player development. It seems like they have some type of program where they develop players who people looked over and able to get great production out of. How are they doing that?
Man, it started. That's why everybody say it start with Pat Riley from the top down, right? One, they got great culture set by Pat Riley. There's a certain way we're going to do things. You're going to come in here. It's kind of like the Patriot way, right? You're going to come in here, and if tonight you need to be a role player and tomorrow you need to be a superstar, whatever's called for on that day, you're going to fall in line. And then when it's time to fall back, you'll fall back. That starts from the top down. That's from Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra to Jimmy Butler, right? Those guys lead from that perspective, and everybody else fall in line. If you listen to Jimmy Butler press conference last night, he talked about how he doesn't look as his teammates as role players. He looks at them as teammates, right? So the mentality of the locker room is really, really good. That's the first point. The second point is how serious they take the craft. If you look now, I know we're going to get into the Denver Nuggets and the matchup, but the Denver Nuggets getting coached, right? He calling timeouts. He jumping on guys. He breaking clipboards, right? Spoelstra's doing it a different way. He's holding a certain expectation, but that expectation is held by the fit. Like the Miami Heat know what they want out of every position. They know how they want to play. They know who they want to shoot it, right? So if you look at the consistency of the Heat through every game in the last 7 games, it's been attack the paint, force help, and kick it to shooters. Right? So Duncan Robinson, if he's not with the Miami Heat and he's with the Lakers,
Yeah,
he may not have that same success.
that's crazy.
Right? You put him with the Sixers, he may not have that same success because their philosophy to score is not the same.
And he's one of the players that was out of the rotation for majority of the season and still was ready when his number was called. Like, that's just amazing because, some players, you sit them down or whatever and you lose them or they pout or, whatever the case may be, they're done. But he's got back in the rotation and performing like nothing's happened during the season.
The thing that you find out in basketball, the most common denominator at any level, because the NBA today is not like the NBA of the 80s and 90s, right? It's a totally different game. Right. The three-point line's been went further. The charges have changed. The help side defense, like all those things are different, right? From college to the NBA is a totally different game. From high school to college is totally different. But the thing that's consistent at every level is that the most connected team wins. So the guys that have the Duncan Robinsons that can say, you know what? I can look myself in the mirror and know I don't got it tonight.
Right.
It makes them be more prepared when their number is called because they ain't pouted the whole time and put a bad spirit on themselves. They help the connectivity of the team grow. And that's why you hear words like culture. That's why you hear things like chemistry. That's why you hear things like the strength of the locker room. Because in every program, those are the things that's hard to keep together, not who can dribble, pass, and shoot. That's easy to see. Right. It's who can dribble, pass, and shoot with the other four guys throughout the changes of what the defense may bring.
Man, another player I want to talk about, Bam Adebayo. And the reason why I want to talk about him because he's supposed to be the second option on his team. But he's not. Defensively, he's great. But they're getting away because they're getting production from other people. But Bam's supposed to be the second option. To me, I feel like he had the clear advantage over Al Horford. Every time I felt like he was aggressive, he was going around him at will. But for whatever reason, sometimes he's not aggressive enough, in my opinion. And then he's just not producing at the rate that I'm thinking he should produce at. What are you seeing out of Bam on the Miami Heat as the quote unquote second option?
Man, a lot of times your best players got to be the ones to take the most grief, right? If it's we got to get other guys going, I'm gonna call a timeout and I'm gonna cuss out Jimmy. Yeah. Or we got to get other guys to be able to make shots because it's important to hit threes this series. So, Bam, I need you to drive and be able to kick. I need you to get on guys for not making shots and you putting yourself in position to make them available. Now, game on the line, you got Al Horford in an ISO situation. You got to go score it. Right. So I think overall, when you look at Bam, his biggest strength is his defensive ability and his ability to rebound. The third strength will be his offensive skill set. So at the end of the day, the identity of who you are, you have to bring to the table. So every night, no matter what, if he's defending at the level and expectation of the team, he's done his job. Anything else is more, right? It's no different than Jimmy Butler. His ability to drive and get to the basket and shoot the pull up and play out of the short corner, like that's needed every night. There's no level of wavering from you bringing that to us. Now, if you happen to hit 4 threes tonight,
yeah,
right, that's just an added bonus. I can't say like, man, he getting to the rim, but he ain't knocking down a 3 at a high clip. Well, that's like the fourth thing on list. That's like the fourth thing on list of things you need to do to make our team be good each night. Right? So what can I consistently count on you? And when you get in these game sevens, these championship games, consistency is so important. But that's why I go away from this series and I go to Chris Paul. Like the reason Chris Paul get hurt in the playoffs is because the playoff tempo and mentality is so much faster and so much more explosive than the regular season. So he has to play with more explosion and play faster and harder at 36 and 37-year-old than he's capable of when you get to the playoffs. And that's why he always finds himself injured. Yeah. Whereas Bam through the regular season is a different type of game. So, yeah, he might – Bam had 30 and 20 tonight type of night.
Right.
But now that we in the playoffs and everybody playing hard on every possession, it's totally different. So he's consistently bringing what he's supposed to. I think at times guys just get so the high expectations are so high for him, man. It end up being tough for him to maintain that in big situations.
Yeah, because we've seen him put up big numbers here and there, but it's just like, man, it's just mind boggling to me sometimes because I feel like he has the potential, has the talent to be that guy, but it just don't come together. Jimmy won the MVP, had 28, 7, and 6. But I noticed one thing that was different in this game, and it was kind of getting on my nerves from Jimmy. Last game, or maybe the last couple games, and I would say great adjustment on his part. But a lot of times he'd get to the paint, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. And he was getting foul calls, so he was getting to the line a lot like that. People will fall for the pump fake, they foul him, and he go to the line. But he was doing it, and it was like, bro, if you just go off the first move, you already got him. But he had stopped himself, pump fake, the defender get back in the picture. It's like, now you stuck. But it seemed like in this game, he was very decisive. First move, quick, and I guess somebody showed him the tape, and great adjustment on his part that it wasn't a lot of pump fakes in this game. Did you see the same thing in this game as well? And what do you think about the adjustments?
Man, I know Jimmy is great at getting to the free throw line, right?
Yeah.
That's a craft. It's actually a craft. I think when you get to game 7, is you can only control what you can control. So it could have been a conversation with him and Spo, like, hey, listen, man, tonight just take what the defense give you. Be aggressive. And on top of that, because they got up so early so much, he was leading from he was playing from the front. A lot of times when you're trying to get and ones and 3-point plays, it's either even or you're playing from a couple points behind. So it was a game where the tempo and the rhythm of their offense needed to continue to click to keep that, because it was 11 for a long time.
Right.
Like, it was back and forth. They cut it to 6, cut it to 9, cut it to 11. They couldn't really get that push. So it's like, man, let's just keep our tempo because we're playing at a great rhythm. A lot of times when the games stop a lot, you allow other teams to get back in rhythm, right? It slows you down at times. Like, you don't want to ice the shooter. You don't want to ice the team. So it could have been that, and it could have been like, man, I'm just going at the rim. I ain't about to sit here and play with him. So
that's very interesting that you said that, because I never thought about it like that. Maybe going to the free throw line slows down the tempo, the momentum, and all of that stuff. So it was easy to keep the flow going without going to the free throw line. That's interesting. Let's go over to the Celtics side, man. Of course, we know that the Tatum injury happened, but Jaylen Brown had 8 turnovers. He had 19 points, but he wasn't able to step his game up to carry the team, and he might be gone after the season. I think he's gonna be a free agent. But one thing I noticed from Jaylen, it was bad shot selection. Like, the Heat would come down, take a 3, make or miss. Matter of fact, the one possession I saw, the Celtics came down, they missed the 3, and then Jaylen came back down and just took an ill-advised 3, quicken the shot clock. And it's like, man, and they was down too, so they really needed that possession to get a good shot. And he just took a bad 3, and I'm like, man, like, that's a bad shot. And they was living and dying by the 3 anyway. But it's just like, wide open 3 is good, but just to take down and take a quick 3. In last year's finals, he had a lot of turnovers. This game, he had 8 turnovers. And let me ask you this, because it seems like last year's finals, it seemed like he couldn't dribble to his left for whatever reason. This is a professional athlete, but it seemed like he had trouble dribbling to his left. Every time he dribbled to his left, he lost the ball or something. This game, he had 8 turnovers. Do you see anything in Jaylen's game that he still needs some work on?
Man, could Derek White stepping up and making plays have an impact on him emotionally or mentally? Could Tatum going down impact his aggression? Like, man, White taking all these, but I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Or I'm Robin, right? He husband, I'm wife.
Yeah.
Like, because if the husband ain't there, the wife's supposed to step up.
Facts.
Right? When Batman leave, Robin's supposed to step in. So But when you got Derek White stepping in and taking all these shots, is that play on your conscience of the connectivity that we talk about to where now I start taking these shots because I am Jaylen Brown? Like, I don't get this confused. This is who I am.
Right.
So when I look at it just cerebral from the outside looking in, when I look at it and I think about it as a player, when I think about the connectivity of the bench and the locker room, given all the turmoil that the Celtics had went from the preseason with the coaching situation to just at the beginning of this. I mean, they was down 0-3 and they was talking about firing the coach now. Like, it's so much different. It's so much noise. Could that impact the decision making that he made? And I think that's more of a thing of like, man, why were you so bad in this situation? Did you just want it too much? Or was it too many other variables that impacted the decisions that you made on the floor? Because that had to be one of the worst games I've seen him play, but they don't get to that point without a Jaylen Brown.
I like Jaylen. I like him. I like him. I just don't understand sometimes the turnovers. But like you say, the whole Tatum, it was a trickle-down effect from the Tatum injury. It was a snowball effect, and that happened. Last thing I want to talk about with this series is they said before the game, the Heat already had booked their flight to Denver. I thought they was trying to psych themselves out. What do you think about moves like that? I know it's a psychological thing, but moves like that, and I think you that type of guy. From everything that I know about you already, you that type of guy that'll do something like that. What did you think about that move? Did it have an effect? Was it ingrained in their mindset? Listen, we booked our flight. This is what's gonna happen, and it carried over to the game.
Man, I want to know who let the world know that they had already booked the flights. That seemed like something that's supposed to stay inside the locker room, right?
No, I think they leak it out on purpose. They do stuff like that to leak it out.
Yeah, they do. They do.
When it happened now, it's like, yo, look at us. Look what we did. We already knew what was going to happen.
You have to, as a coach, you have to instill confidence into your guys, right?
Yeah.
And conversely, I was the guy of like, man, don't overlook the next team. Like, focus on what's here. Let's get this job done. Let's move to the next thing. And if you look at where I've been this last year at Cleveland State from a coaching perspective, every coach on our team does every scouting report. Like, we break it down from the standpoint, like, I got personnel, special situations. We got a coach that has the defense. We got a coach that has the offensive attack.
Right.
And you're doing it every game. So it'll be the game. We'll be playing the University of Detroit. And on Thursday, we play Robert Morris. And on that game day, I'm doing a scouting report for the next team. And what I found through this year of like the mojo that you get from overlooking teams, man, don't none of that matter. It don't really matter. It has no play in it. You got to get out there. You got to dribble. You got to pass. You got to shoot. You got to make the right plays. You got to call the right timeouts. And if it helps you to get your team going by saying, hey, we not losing. Our plane already packed.
Right.
Because for the NCAA tournament, like when we go into our conference tournament in Horizon, we've seen over a ledger of like how much our body weight is, what family members going with us. We ain't even got to Indianapolis yet.
Right.
So it's like, damn, we putting that mojo on us? We just don't tell everybody.
Right.
But the whole world doing it. I'm pretty sure that the people in the front office of the Celtics were preparing for Denver to come in for game one as well. They just didn't tell a bunch of people.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, yo, Boston, I'm pretty sure Boston did something similar. But let me ask you as a coach, kind of off subject, do you all do that type of stuff? Because we hear about coaches doing stuff, bulletin board material, putting little articles up, or this person said. We heard stories about Jordan where we used to make up stuff to get motivated, or somebody didn't shake his hand or something, or I'm giving you 50 tonight because you ain't shaking. Do you all do little stuff to throw at players to make them think about something, to maybe get them angry about something or more focused? Do you all do anything as coaches to just put something in their face?
Man, I think at times it depends on the type of team that you have. Like with that Miami Heat team, yeah, I would do that because they are back against the wall mentality type of teams. Right. When you have your older teams where it's like, man, let's just get to the game, it's more so we paying attention to detail. So I'm giving you more who the top 3 shooters are coming off of the bench more than I am of they the youngest team in the NCAA. We got to treat them like babies and everybody running there with a baby bib on. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's different things that you do based off the group that you have. So I've been a part of teams that has used bulletin board material for every game. Like, it's been a part and it's been a role of somebody on staff to make sure we got something for pregame. And then I've been a part of teams where the group was so old or was such a seasoned group where they was just like, hey, man, just get me to the yams.
Right.
Get me to where I got to go. So we do. And it's at all levels. I mean, it's in all sports. It's in all sports.
Let's get to the finals now. We got the Nuggets versus the Heat. Looked at the season series. Probably can throw that out the window. Nuggets went 2-0. But my question, looking at this series, before they play, I'm looking at what Bam just had to go through with Boston. They didn't really have no post presence they had to deal with, no big guy. Jokic is a problem. Jokic is a 7-foot problem for Bam. Bam got to be. He only about 6'9" in my estimation. He only about 6'9". Now he has said that he can guard 1 through 5. He called himself one of the best defenders in the league. But I seen what Jokic did to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis didn't want them problems. He don't even like banging down low with the centers. But Bam, but like you say, Miami, they culture, backs against the wall. I'm pretty sure Bam is going to take the challenge on. But I just feel like it's nothing that can be done about Jokic. Just nothing that can be done. My question to you, what can the Heat do for Jokic? Are they going to double team? They're going to play him straight up? What are they going to do? Because to me, it's nothing that they can do.
Well, the whole world knows Jokic is a problem from these playoffs if they ain't know it leading into the playoffs. So that's given. In defense of AD, he tried. He did try. I mean, he came out, he put up the biggest fight that he could put up, given his temperament and his personality.
Man,
and I think when it comes to Bam, on what we just talked about, as far as like what he brings to the Heat, I think Jimmy Butler says, "Hey, you up? You up? It's your turn now. Now, because you are the second best player on our team, he gonna have to now. For Bam to be successful against him, he gonna have to use his athleticism to his advantage. He gonna have to do some cat and mouse things. It's hard because Jokic is so skilled and he can score it from so deep out. But I think the Heat are gonna have to make a choice. Do we put our energy and effort into stopping Jokic? Right? And it's not letting him be great in multiple categories. He can't have 35 and 17 assists. Right. He's responsible for almost 70% of the points. Like, no, is he gonna score and we're gonna give him no assists? So it's Bam and Jokic gonna play one-on-one and we're gonna take away the three-point shooting ability and not let Murray and those guys get going? Or are we gonna let the others or are we gonna stop the others and let Jokic go? Like, they're gonna have to decide the feast or famine. So that's most important. But at the end of the day, they have to limit Denver to one shot. It's going to be a group effort on the glass. I thought one of the things that Denver did well against the Lakers is get second chance opportunities. Jokic would miss around the rim, but he go right back and grab it. It's like he throw it at the basket as an offensive move, grab it and dunk it. Like, you can't let those type of plays happen.
They need to play the video that you played at the coaches conference. That was one of the best videos I ever seen. The blockout video, bro, that was textbook. And that's one of just to go back a little bit, when Boston hit that game winner, I was like, how did Derek White get in there? But I looked at the tape. They wasn't even playing the ball, the out of bounds player. So when he threw the ball in, he quickly ran towards the basket. And so it was no way somebody can block him out. And that's how he was able to get that tip in. But the Denver Nuggets are a big team. Jokic, Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. all have length. You cannot teach height. But if they put on that blockout video that you put on, they need to see that video. If they do that and limit to one shot, they got a chance. Because you can't teach height. You can't.
I'm going to call Spo, see if he need me for a series. See what he can do in this thing.
You got to tag him there. Yes, bro. I
got something for you, man. I got the sauce. The sauce.
But I am excited. I will say this. I am excited to see the coaching aspect because I think Spoelstra is a great coach. I ain't going to lie. I didn't respect him when LeBron was there. I didn't respect him as much because I just feel like the aura of LeBron clouds. You're not able to see the coach for who he is because LeBron is his own coach in a sense where it's just a lot that go on with LeBron. But since LeBron has left, I feel like I've been able to see and what Spoelstra is doing now without the superstars, without the big threes like that. But with a team like this, I feel like you can see more of the coaching aspect. I'm interested to see. I think he's going to throw all types of different looks at Jokic. He's going to make them think a lot more than what they Denver had to think in a previous series. What do you think about that?
No, I do. I think that's what makes Spo great, though. When you talk about the LeBron situation, I think the only person that can truly control LeBron and make his oar fall in line with what they want to do is Mark Jackson. Like, it got to be an older black dude that he got a ton of respect for.
Right.
That when he say "shut the hell up," LeBron
Right.
shut up, because he has been doing it for so long. But that's a whole conversation for a whole nother day. I think when it comes to Spoelstra leading into Denver, he gonna go into Denver. He's spending today with one game plan, and he's spending tomorrow with an alternative. He knows that you can't just go in there game one and just say, all right, they ain't going to adjust. And you can't go in there game one expecting to think what you did in the past is going to have success either. So I think he has some halftime adjustments that he prepared for. He mentally just checking off all the boxes of everything that's going to be important. Well, what if they play with size? Or what if they go small on us? What if they try to match up to us? So he's putting all those things in place. But then at the same time, he's finding a way to say, all right, tactically, how do we make them respect us back? Because you got to guard Jimmy too. Like, who gonna guard Jimmy? That's big.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now you talk about the offensive ability from Bam. Attack Jokic ass.
Yes. Yes.
Put him in foul trouble. That may be your best defense.
Yes.
Attack his ass. So now you see him being more aggressive to the rim and not kicking as much because it's important to get him in foul trouble. Like, those things are the things that Spo gonna have to, like, say, all right, what's best for this situation? It's gonna end up being situational basketball, because the meat and potatoes, we already know what they're gonna do. I mean, Miami driving to get threes and Denver playing through Jokic, and you got to contain Murray. So we'll see, but I'm pretty sure that staff, that Heat staff will be prepared.
And that's one thing that I noticed, even with the Lakers series. Like, man, to me, Lakers was getting whatever they want when they attacked Jokic. Like, Jokic is not a great defender. If I'm just keeping it 100, man, like, that's one reason people said Embiid was the MVP, because of Embiid was better defensively. But the way Jokic controlled the game offensively, it's like his offense is so great. It's like, okay, he ain't the best defender, but because his offense is so great, it overshadows the bad defense. But that's one way to attack Denver. Michael Porter Jr. to me is a horrible defender, but he did better the last series. Like, he tried harder. But Porter and Jokic to me are bad defenders. But Caldwell Pope and Aaron Gordon are their better defenders. But that's the way to attack Denver. And I'm just so excited about the coaching matchups and the adjustments that's going to go from game to game. But I think that Denver is a smarter team than Boston. So the stuff that Miami got away with in this series, I don't think they're going to get away with in the Denver series, and vice versa. Lakers, I think Spoelstra is a better coach than Darvin Ham. That was his first year learning, and I'm just excited for the whole. Before we move on, what's the key matchup to this series? What's the key matchup for each team? Who needs to dominate their matchup?
Man, I think style of play for Heat is the most important. You were talking about that. Like, I think they need to get out in transition, make them boys run, right? Open them lungs up.
Right.
But obviously, finding a way to stop Joker, right? Finding a way to stop him is most important for the Heat. You can't let him just have fun, because they'll mess around, score 140 points a night.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for Denver, they have to take away the threes. And the way that they take away the threes, they have to stop dribble penetration and not allow Jimmy Butler and those guys to get in there and play inside out and get a bunch of open threes for Miami. Because if you look at the games that Miami had success in the finals, in the Eastern Conference Finals, they shot the ball 50% from three, and you have multiple guys make multiple threes. So you got to find a way to limit and take away three-point line.
Oh, man, you just made me think, man. This is going to be a great series. At first, I thought it was going to be Denver 5 games, maybe, because I just didn't think. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm still going to take Denver in 6. But if they do the driving kick that you talk about, like I said, Denver only got 2 defenders. That's Caldwell Pope and Aaron Gordon. Everybody and Murray is okay, but the Jokic and the Michael Porter Jr. those matchups, Miami have to win those matchups, and I think they can get whatever they want against those 2. So let's go ahead and make the predictions now, man. Thursday is game 1. We calling it now. You said it earlier, but give me your winner and how many games?
Man, I got the Heat in 6.
Heat in 6.
They'll lose the first on the road. They'll win the second. They'll get 2 at home, and then they'll come back and finish it out at home.
I got the Nuggets in 6. Nuggets are undefeated at home. I'm going to say they continue that. And that altitude is another thing. Got to play in that altitude.
Yeah, that's why game 2, because they're going to be there for 3-4 more days. It ain't like play every other night now. Now you got like 3 or 4 nights.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Yeah, I got the Nuggets in 6, man. Both of their wheels, I feel like both of them have wheels. Denver, but see, Denver got the same mentality as Miami have, as far as they felt like they've been disrespected the whole playoffs, which they have. Everybody been saying this number 1 seed, that they didn't believe in Denver, and they've been playing that role. Even Mike Malone been doing every press conference. Oh, we won this game, and y'all talking about the Lakers. Y'all not talking. He been playing the role the whole time, and so they got like a chip on their shoulder. Miami got a chip on their shoulder. Who got the bigger chip? Who got the bigger chip on their shoulders?
Hey, it don't matter about the size of the chip when nobody in Denver's ever been there.
Oh, okay.
Miami got experience. They know what it's like as an organization.
Yes, you're right.
They know what it's like to be in the finals. The ticket people don't even know what to expect game 1 in the NBA Finals in Denver ever.
Yes, you're right.
Miami ticket people, they already got a formula in place for game 3. They know what's going to happen, and they know who doing what, who holding the beer, where the popcorn going to be, how you going to do parking, how many people to expect. Should we show? They know where they showing the game outside to the fans. Denver's trying to figure all that out.
Oh, I like that analysis. You said everybody know what's going on. The ticket people know what's going on. So everybody prepared in Miami already.
Everybody prepared. Now they just got to do their job and split that first 2 games.
The fan base is going to be rabid for Denver. They're going to be going crazy. That crowd is going to be electric. I can't wait to see it, man. I want to talk about your career, though, man, as a coach, man. Let's get to you, man, because like I said, I met you at the coaches conference, man, and you talked about your story coming up through the ranks, coaching, and some of the things that you went through. And so, as I look back and looked up some things, I just want to start. First of all, you play football and basketball.
I did.
And so I guess I got to ask you a football question. I don't. Who's your team? Do you follow the NFL? What position did you play?
Man, so I play wide receiver. I got uncles, man. I got an uncle that played at La Tech. I got an uncle that went JUCO.
Okay.
Ended up played at Kilgore, and then just tried to go straight to the NFL. So I grew up around receivers and DBs. But I never played football until I was a sophomore in high school. My mom wouldn't let me. She said people got hurt too much. So
she was smart early, before all the concussion stuff and the injury,
all that. She was
already on it.
Yeah. So
wow.
I was so far behind the 8 ball though. I wasn't as physical as I needed to be coming out of high school, just because tackling is an art, you learn it. And then my speed wasn't where it was supposed to be, just because it hadn't been something I focused on being a basketball player. So when I finished high school, I actually walked on at Eastern Michigan for football.
Wow.
So I started my college career with my back against the wall. I offered Division IIIs to go play 3 sports. Nobody has JUCOs for basketball. And I led the state in receptions. I played in the East-West All-Star game up in Michigan. And highly decorated for that side of the state. Now, if you ain't on the Detroit side of the state, sometimes your numbers ain't respected as much, even though I think it's a better brand of football on the other side of the state. But that's a different debate for a whole nother Zoom, or for another talk. But man, the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, first part of my life, I was in Houston. You know what I mean? I was born in Beaumont, lived in Houston. and the Oilers was up 34 and lost. So
Okay.
it was like my granddad was like, "We Cowboys over here."
Right. Right.
So I'm America's team, nothing small, just
Okay.
America's team. That's it. The big star.
So to go back, you didn't start playing till you said sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
If it was up to you, would you have started earlier?
I always wanted to, man. So I grew up in a unique situation, and because my mom wouldn't let me, I still had to do something. So I was like this tough black guy from on the strip where we grew up at, and I ran cross country.
Right.
Man, I gotta get out of this cross country. I know I'll be a dog. So I'm in 7th and 8th grade, man. I see the football team running the hills. I'm like, man, I know I could be out there. Like, I know I can do this. And I kept saying, yeah, you're doing it in high school. You're doing it in high school. So then I got recruited hard by the freshman or by the varsity cross country coach in the 8th grade.
Right.
And he was like, we're going to have a great thing for you. So I was so amazed by the attention that I got from him. And the football coach obviously wasn't giving me no attention because I didn't play football.
Right.
So I was excited to run cross country that first year. And I remember my first meet, man. You like walk the route of what you're gonna run. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
And cross country ain't the most popular thing to do. It ain't like you go. They ain't like nobody's checking for the cross country guys. Like it's all football and basketball when it comes to high school.
I will say this though, when I got on that field, man, it was the mentality of which I had in order to compete and prove myself totally switched. Like I was up. Like I went to the same high school TJ Duckett went to, Lil John Flowers.
Wow.
Like Derek Jeter went to my rival high school. Greg Jennings went to my rival high school. Wow. So it was a high level of participation. I actually took my kids to an AAU tournament in Fort Wayne, which is probably about an hour and a half from where I went to high school. And one of the coaches was up there, and he was like, "Man, you're the greatest defender to ever come out of Kalamazoo." And I'm like, "Man, that says a lot, given some of the people that's played in that city."
Right.
But to watch them as I sat on the sideline for cross country, I knew what the level of expectation was for good players. And I wasn't going to let myself fail. Like it was no option in me failing once I got the opportunity to put that helmet on. So it was early mornings. It was late nights. It was jogging 2.5 miles to school. Like I'm going to put my book bag on and just jog. Right. I remember trick-or-treating home from school because nobody else was there and I couldn't get a ride home. And it was Halloween. So I'm like, man, I'm about to put my book bag on. I'm going to be a high school student. I just trick-or-treated home. Because I had stayed up there to get an extra lift, get extra shots up. And I wasn't in the family environment that just allows you to be picked up and dropped off and food brought to you every opportunity they got. So
right. So let me ask you this. Talking about your mom to let you play back into sophomore. You got kids now. You got a boy, right? You got a boy?
Three boys.
So if they want to play football, what is your mindset now from knowing what you know now, from what your mom had you do? What's your position with your boys if they want to play football?
Man, it's crazy because they already play.
Okay.
So I got my oldest just turned 12 a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
When he started playing, it was like, all right, man, when you get to 10, we're gonna let you play.
Okay.
Right. And they had their flag up until that point, and they was dominating them flag. And now you got to remember, man, my wife top 10 scoring in the University of Michigan history. Right. My father-in-law played on the only undefeated team at the University of Toledo, and my brother-in-law is probably one of the best quarterbacks I ever played with. He just couldn't keep his dang nose clean and not talk back and do all the small things. Like he ain't play the politics of being a student athlete well.
Right.
But so they have really good DNA. How good they'll be, I don't know, man. They probably not going to be fast enough, not going to be physical enough, and I'm not going to let them fail. But you never know. Like it takes a special itch and niche to get to that next level. But one of my friends told me this. He said, man, would you rather 2 semis get in a car accident or would you rather 2 bicycles get in a car accident? Which injury going to hurt worse? Right? And I'm like, damn, it makes sense. And I had to explain that way to my wife because they have to learn, like the most important thing to staying healthy on the football field is knowing how to be physical the right way, knowing how to tackle, knowing how to get tackled. If you look at the NFL now with Tua doing jiu-jitsu so he can learn how to fall. Right. But when you start at such an early age, there were times, man, I was at Eastern Michigan, we playing Cincinnati, and I was on kickoff return. I'm the center, right? I'm right in the middle on the kickoff return team. and it's 5 guys that lead to the football. And I had L5. So that's from the left end, it's like L1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, damn.
Right.
I gotta go hit him. That boy, he looked like a man out of a make-believe movie. He had the visor on, the neck roll, big, 6'8". I'm like, damn. Well, it was me finding confidence in myself to be physical in those situations. Now, as I played football through college and I got to my junior and senior year, I became more physical and I gave myself an opportunity to be a pro because there were certain techniques that you're supposed to be physical. You just can't go out there. Right. So now I'm big on the kids learning how to do that. My oldest is probably the most stellar football player right now because of his size. He just be running through kids at running back.
Right.
And it was even his coach like, man, he'd already play receiver. He's like, let's try him at running back. I'm like, shit, go for it.
Right.
All right, cool. And then my middle son, which is my 9-year-old, I got a 9-month-old. Nobody knows what he's gonna do. He's just a terrorizer right now. But he could throw the ball 55 yards off a crow hop at 9. You know what I mean? So he thinks the game different. So I'm hoping that he can get some size to him and be a quarterback. But man, their careers and path will go because the one thing that I learned from my story is this: it's not about how you start.
Right.
There's so many kids whose senior year is their 8th grade year. It's how you finish.
Yeah.
Right. Because people fall off. I go and I see people I went to high school with and they look so little. And it was like, damn, we was the same size in high school.
Right.
So it changes so much, man. You got to get more caught up in the process of just improving and learning the fundamentals than you do in winning an AAU game or winning a football game or being the first in line. Like, you got to learn the why behind what you're doing.
Let's get to your coaching career. I'm looking down your career. Let's start Eastern Michigan, director of video operations and player development. When I first seen this, I'm like, yo, those two don't even seem like they go together. It seemed like he had 2 separate jobs. Seemed like you video operations and then you had to deal with player development. Was that 2 separate jobs that you was doing?
It wasn't 2 separate jobs. It was just 2 separate responsibilities. So Huddle, Sport Code, Synergy, like all these editing systems that we had, they weren't that was 2007, 8. Like they weren't relevant then. They were coming around. There was this thing called Firefox, I think is what it was called at the time. So I was fortunate enough to GA and be in that role for the coach that I played for. So I was more like an assistant coach.
Okay.
Like extra assistant coach with the responsibility of doing all the video and making sure everybody got their video and exchanging with the other colleges and those things. And then when it came to like player development, I was in the pre-practice, I was working out the guards. Post-practice, I was working out the bigs. In the summer, I had all the team in the pool and we did pool workouts. So it was like, man, what's the most creative title we can give you? Because you're really just an assistant who the players respect because half of them play with you. So
Wow. Yeah. So and then I thought about it, I was like, man, Spoelstra, he started out as a video guy, worked all the way up to a championship head coach. I'm like, man, I got some similarities there. That's probably another reason you're going for him too. That's another story. I move on. Owens Community College, associate head coach. You recruited players from Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. I'm intrigued by the recruiting process. How does that go? Do you go to the living rooms? How did you recruit players? Because we hear about stories about, and then man, I wish I could have got you on to talk about the whole Deion situation, but we'll talk about that another time. Because I kind of went in on him a little bit, but that just that was just my thing.
That was your HBCU background. That's what it was.
I went through them. But when you was recruiting these players, how does that go? How do you approach recruiting? And you had to do it from 4 different states. So what was your? How did you go about recruiting players?
Man, so at the junior college level, it's totally different than the Division I level. I mean, at the junior college level, man, you kind of feel like a slime ball, right? Because you will go watch these kids play, and then you hope that they academically ineligible. Because the best players, the ones that you want that's going to help you win a national championship, aren't the ones that's like, Coach, I'm excited to have an offer from you.
Right.
It's the ones that's like, man, he ain't reached the 2.3 GPA or he ain't get the right test score, right? So you kind of feel bad because I'm looking at a lot of players that look like me and I'm like, man, hopefully he ain't that smart. Like that's never the intent or personality that I went into this with.
Right.
So what you end up doing is you end up counting on the relationships that you have. So I know 3 or 4 guys out of Chicago, and they gonna call me like, man, try, you got to see this kid. Come from his background is this, his family lifestyle may be such and such, but he can play, and I don't think he's gonna have the grades. Right? That still doesn't change at the level I'm at now. That same person may call me and say, hey man, I got a kid for you. Like, man, he can play. Like, he athletic, explosive,
right,
like great academic background. He gonna cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and right now he getting looked at by UIC, Illinois State, but he don't want to stay in Illinois. You'll have a shot with it. So then I go check him out, see if I like him, and then I continue to follow him. Now, how we go about bringing him on campus or going to do a home visit, like we've done all of that, but every situation is different. Some kids don't want you. I was on the phone with a kid earlier. He got a mom and a dad, but he never said anything about his dad. So I had to ask him, like, man, what's dad's situation? Like, do you want to be a part of this process? And then I had to hit him with, hey, no disrespect, because I don't even know my pops. So I'm going to tell you, like, I don't know my pops. My mom don't know my pops. Like, don't feel like I'm trying to go at you a certain type of way. But I want to know who's your champion, who's involved in helping you make your decision.
Right.
And then that carries over to the transfer portal, to every AAU, to all of it, right? It's about relationships.
Man, we might have to do a part 2 because I got so many questions. But one of the questions I want to get you, a couple more questions before I get you up out of here. I gotta get your opinion about some comments Deion said as far as recruiting, because it just popped in my head. One of the comments he said, and I know that it's a true statement, but I wonder, was it appropriate to say? He said he go after the players that don't have a great household, that have the single parent household, because he feels that their drive is going to be different. He said, if you got a 2-parent household, I really don't want to mess with you because you're not going to be as hungry as the ones that don't have both parents in the household or struggling and this and that. I had a problem with that because I felt like if he was white, he would have gotten in trouble for sure. You know what I'm saying? But and then I look at it as you supposed to be a leader of men, and I felt like at the same time you can actually help somebody if they lacking a certain hunger, or you feel like they lack a certain drive because of their situation. What do you think about those comments?
Man, it's the context in which you accept the message, right? Mm-hmm. Because what he's saying is that when this is your only option,
right?
When your back is against the wall,
right?
When you look at football as an opportunity to change the demographics of everybody in your life,
yes,
your approach to work each day is going to be a harder grind if you're a good player,
right,
than someone who has football as a secondary option, right? So I'll take it back to the basketball piece.
Mm-hmm.
Bronny James is going to be successful if he's really good on the basketball court or if he isn't.
Right.
Right. So as a coach, it's like, man, I can get on Bronny. Like, man, shit, that ain't necessary. Like, what are we talking about?
Right.
Where there may be a 5-star recruit from inner city Chicago who gets that same opportunity, and he's like, man, coach, we got to get in here in the morning because I can't fail. This is my only option.
Yeah.
Now, where Deion makes himself better is he says, I want to get somebody that comes from a 1-car garage household, right? Or a 1-parent household.
Right.
And I want to make sure I get him here and I make him a doctor, I make him an engineer, I make him a lawyer, and I make him the best football player that I can make him, because those type of kids have a stronger appreciation than a kid who's just coming here because football was an option that they had. They don't necessarily have to play football if they don't want to.
But is that true about every 2-parent household student?
Man, I got a wife at the crib, myself at the crib, and 3 boys.
Right.
And I guarantee you can take any person from any block and they'll compete with them from sun up till sun down. But because I'm knowledgeable enough to know that I'm going to instill the right traits in for you to be successful. The strongest thing a man can do, right? And this is the strongest thing you can do as a man in any situation to make it successful is care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to instill the traits and values, hopefully, to my kids about
Right.
caring. That's it. That's
Right.
all I can do. Now, some people that come from those backgrounds, they had to make the choice to care. Like, I had to make the choice to care.
Right.
Right. So I had a chance to live that lifestyle for my kids. Now, it's my responsibility to not let them waver from having a hunger and a bite and a fight about themselves that's going to prevent them from being successful because of my knowledge. If I don't, then I let them down undiscreetly. It's like systematic, what they call it, systematic racism.
Yeah.
Right. You know how the system is being racist against you, but if you don't got the knowledge enough to know, you overlook the fact that you're not being held equal by everybody else.
Right.
I just fell into that mode. If I don't turn the switch and say, hey man, say please and thank you. Hold the door for women. Be the first person to the gym, the last person to leave. If you're gonna sign up to play, you're not gonna quit. Right? It's my responsibility to teach those things to them. Whereas when I was growing up, it's like I ain't gonna quit, so I'm gonna go home and be in a hot ass house. 70 degrees outside. I might as well be out here with my friends.
Right.
Might as well be out here competing.
Right.
Now, there's days I walk in, my son will be on the bed on his phone. I ain't have no phone. My mom wouldn't let me get no pager, no none of that. I'm like, man, go outside and play, bro. Put that phone down.
Oh, man. Listen, I knew it was going to be like this. I knew the time was going too much fun. It's going to slide by. You are now Cleveland State assistant coach, D1. I've watched Cleveland State in an NCAA tournament. Man, tell me, how is it being on this level where you're at right now?
Man, it's the same as Jimmy Butler winning the Eastern Conference Finals last night. Job's not done. Right? The goal is for us to be sitting here and you have your own spinoff from ESPN or through Netflix, and we having this conversation about how we talked when I was an assistant and you was running with Al and Pals, right? That's the goal. Now, it feels so damn good, and I'm so appreciative to be in the seat that I am, though, because one, I have a huge respect for the process and the journey. Like the journey that I've had has made the achievements that I've accomplished so good because I've been that guy at the Final Four that had a high school logo on, and people just be like, "Oh, all right, bro, I'll holler at you." And then this class, I'm in the Final Four. It's like, "Hey, coach, great year. Like, let's talk. Let's do this." So I can see, like, man, you've earned your respect, right? Earned, never given. Even in my current position, like, I had to work for 2 or 3 weeks before D-Rob was like, "Yeah, you that guy." But that made me respect him more because then our paths and our passions and me learning him and the way he think and tick and not giving me special circumstances because I know him, whatever the case may be, man. So it's gratifying, but it's like the Nuggets winning the Western Conference Final.
Yeah.
Job not done yet.
Job not done. It sounds like Jimmy Butler. I didn't even get a chance to go through let's see. St. Francis, head coach there. Like, you got so much going on, and I didn't get a chance to go to the story that you talked about at the coaches conference. Like I said, we might have to do a part 2 because I still got more questions and more to get to with you. Plus the NBA finals is going on, man. So hopefully we can come back, do this again, man. But I appreciate you once again, Travis Lewis, checking in with the Allen Pals, man. Your story is amazing. Thank you again for coming on, man. I look forward to having you again. And any last words that you want to say to the people that's watching?
Man, just hey, don't be great by yourself. You diminish your impact, right? That's my biggest thing. Like I'm not where I'm at if it ain't for my wife, if it ain't for my in-laws, if it ain't for the lessons that my mom, my stepdad taught me, right? If it ain't for my passion for my kids and the people that's been in my circle to help me grow and blossom. Don't be great by yourself. You diminish your impact. My story just got greater because I came on here with Al and Pals on the show. And count me in, bro. I'm back. Let's do it. I'm back.
Yes.
Whenever you ready, you let me know. We're going to get after it.
Yes. I love it. Once again, Travis Lewis, Cleveland State assistant coach. Thank y'all. We are about to get up out of here. I will see y'all next Tuesday. We are gone.
load, Allen Pants.